What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our Big 12 football channel. In this video, we are going to predict the 2019 offensive MVPs for every Big 12 team. And you know, the Big 12 historically has been the conference of the quarterback, and you're definitely going to see some quarterbacks in this video, but we also went with some other guys as well for some of these teams. I mean, you can't just go and name the starting quarterback for every school. So yes, there are quarterbacks on this list, but we tried to think about it a little bit harder and maybe look at some other guys as well. We're just going to go alphabetically and start with Baylor, and I think the MVP will be a quarterback for the Baylor Bears, and that's Charlie Brewer. Really an underrated quarterback in my opinion. You look, he threw for over 3,000 yards last year. He's a pretty good runner as well, 375 rush yards. He had 26 total touchdowns and really led this Baylor team to a big time turnaround season in 2018. They were able to get to a bowl game and win that bowl game after just a horrible 2017. So great year from this Baylor quarterback, and I expect him to be the leader of this offense and really of this team once again in 2019. We go to Iowa State now, and I think this one's easy. Brock Purdy. You lose your top running back, your top wide receiver. He's going to be the star of this team in my opinion. Didn't get as many opportunities last year to, I think, showcase what he can do. You know, they ran the football a lot last season, but I think they'll throw it more with him leading the way. He did throw for over 2,200 yards last season, had 308 yards on the ground as well, 21 total touchdowns, was really efficient. You look at his numbers, and he did a good job taking care of the football, and I expect him to be a very solid player and the offensive MVP there for Iowa State in 2019. This one's tough. Pooka Williams may not even play in 2019. He was arrested. If you don't know about that story, you can go check it out, but don't really know what his status will be. But if he plays, this one's easy. He is definitely going to be their offensive MVP in my opinion. Over 1,000 yards rushing last season, 289 yards receiving, 9 total touchdowns. He was just a freshman last season. I believe he was the Big 12 Freshman of the Year. Remember, he had some big plays in that game against Texas to keep them close in that game. But again, if he's eligible, he will be the offensive MVP in my opinion. For Kansas State, we go back to a quarterback. I've got Skylar Thompson. This team lost their top 3 running backs, I believe, from last season. It was 2 or 3. And so I think they will really lean on him a lot more. Alex Delton is gone, so there's not going to be any splitting time at the quarterback position. I think it's his show to run, and I expect him to have a big season. He had almost 1,400 yards passing, 373 yards rushing, 14 total touchdowns. He will be the key, and I think Kansas State will go as Skylar Thompson goes in 2019. Next up is Oklahoma. Jalen Hurts would be the obvious choice here. But we don't know for sure that he's even going to win the starting job. I mean, that's going to be an interesting battle. CeeDee Lamb, I think, will be the go-to receiver with Marquise Brown gone. You look at his numbers from last year, over 1,100 yards. Again, this was as the number 2 receiver, arguably. He had 17.8 yards per reception, so he was a big play player, 11 touchdowns. I think those numbers just go up even more with Marquise Brown gone. They got some nice young receivers coming in, but I still think CeeDee Lamb will be the veteran and the leader at that wide receiver position. Sticking with the wide receiver, how about Tylan Wallace of Oklahoma State? I got a couple of running backs that I considered for this, but I think Tylan Wallace is going to have a monster year. Just look what he did last year. Almost 1,500 yards, 17.3 yards per reception, 12 touchdowns, and it just seemed like if the ball was anywhere near him, he was going to catch it. Just one of the more impressive players that I saw all of last season. You do wonder about the quarterback position and how much they'll actually be able to throw it. But it's Oklahoma State. I'm not too worried about that. That was one of the reasons I thought about going with a running back here. But Tylan Wallace, I think, is the best player on this team, and I think he'll be their offensive MVP. Jalen Reagor for TCU. You look at his numbers last year, over 1,000 yards receiving, almost 200 yards rushing, 11 total touchdowns. Really a do-it-all wide receiver. I think he's going to be their biggest playmaker. This is going to be an interesting team to watch. Will it be Alex Delton, the transfer from Kansas State at quarterback? And just think about the athleticism they would have with him at quarterback, the talent they have at running back and receiver. This could be a pretty good offense, but I think he's going to be the most explosive player, and I think he's going to be their offensive MVP. Next up is Texas. This one's easy. I think it's going to be Sam Ehlinger. I know there are a lot of people out there, based off of comments to my videos, that still think he's overrated and maybe he's not that great of a passer. But his passing numbers are really good. He threw for over 3,000 yards last season. He is not just a runner. 482 yards on the ground, though. He can definitely do that, and he's a big time threat in the red zone. 41 total touchdowns last year. I don't know where that ranks, but I think it's probably up there in the top 5 or 10. Just an unbelievable season for him, and he's back once again. I think you really saw a big improvement from 2017 to 18 in his passing ability. You might see an even bigger jump in 2019. Dark horse candidate, not a dark horse, but a Heisman candidate, in my opinion. Alan Bowman is up next. Perhaps there'll be a little bit of a quarterback competition at Texas Tech, but he was a freshman last year, and when he was in there and healthy, he was the best quarterback that they had. Only played 8 games, threw for over 2,600 yards, 17 touchdowns, a 69% completion percentage. Those are really good numbers for a freshman. And again, he showed at times flashes of being a superstar quarterback. And so I think he's going to lead the way there for Texas Tech in a new era with Cliff Kingsbury gone. And then we're going to go with Austin Kendall at West Virginia, a couple of running backs that I considered here as well. But I think he's really going to have a lot to prove coming over from Oklahoma. He was the number 9 pro-style quarterback in the 2016 recruiting class. Has a chip on his shoulder. A new head coach there, so everything's going to be new for everybody. I don't think him not having experience in the offense or anything is going to be a factor, obviously, because everyone's new to it. So I think that will be good for him, and I think he will win the starting quarterback job, and I think he's going to have a great year for West Virginia, and he will be their offensive MVP. Thank you for watching this video. If you're a Big 12 football fan, please subscribe to the channel. As always, leave your comments down below. We always like to hear from you. And for the latest in Big 12 football, keep it right here.